We are live. Welcome to anyone tuning in or watching on YouTube. It's djfallingupg, aka David. Feels funny using the magic screen name on an album review.
Right.
Best friend Strangledangles, aka Paul. Previously, I've just streamed Magic, but we both love music. We're trying something new this week that we hope to be a habit. We want to talk about albums that we love, enjoy, want the other person to listen to, so we're trying out doing an album review stream here. We have a methodology actually that I think I was surprised I forgot to bring this up, but I was thinking we could try to pick the next album at the end of the stream, so we'll show the spinning wheel.
Love it.
For the next album here. But we did like a bit of a randomization. We made a queue together of albums that we kind of like want each other to listen to, randomized it a bit, and picked Cure by Erra, one that I submitted for our first album review here, and they're just gonna take time to talk about the album, talk about how we know the band, and have fun doing it, and document it for the world to see and anyone who wants to tune in. And if you know friends who we let know, we have a lot of good friends who like talking music too. When we get together, it's like music, magic. Those are two of the main things we spend our time on. So excited if any one of the friends tunes in. So I wanted to start us off with kind of just an intro on how we each know Erra. Like we'll get into, I have this grid here that I'll be sharing throughout the stream that will kind of leave our most important thoughts visible here on the screen, but we'll also kind of have things we're talking about that aren't documented here necessarily as we have the conversation. So I wanted to start with just how we each got to know Erra, where we were at like kind of going into this album with them as a frame of reference for folks. If you don't know Erra, they're like, I would call them like kind of modern metalcore band. Like they are very guitar focused, have singing, have screaming, melodic, a lot of flashy guitar work. I got exposed to Erra. I think I've told you this story because I'm pretty sure. I think I introduced you. I think I like sent you songs to listen to from Erra.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Properly, but
Yep.
I got an Erra song on a Discover Weekly playlist on Spotify called Dementia from their album Augment. And this is like, I was actually thinking about this leading up to the album. I was like, I don't actually even know how many albums Erra has. It's kind of embarrassing to do that for the first band we're reviewing an album for. But they have like a not small discography. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, and they have like they have some older stuff, and they changed a vocalist. So like the first song I listened to was off, I think like their second album, and maybe one of the early ones, and where they had a different screamer vocalist. And this Dementia song just blew me away. Like I loved it immediately, and I was basically after getting into that song was like, this could be this band's best song, and I would think that it was like a great band, like great top song for a band, and it was the only song I knew by them. And then I listened to a little bit more by them post like transitioning to the new screamer, and like initially was kind of disappointed because I felt like it was very, I don't know, just what I would kind of correlate to like the TDWP style of during like Roots and Dead Thrones, where I felt like it was a little bit overproduced lead vocally, like to make catchy hooks, and felt like it was like not a lot of substance trying to be catchy. That was like the impression I had when I only listened to a few other songs off of like Neon and stuff. So I actually like didn't really listen to much more by them for quite a while. But then I started getting a few more of their songs on like suggested playlists or Discover Weeklies, and eventually stumbled upon this one, Expiate. That might have been one of the ones I sent to you. I don't know, but that one.
Oh yeah,
blew
that
me
was.
away.
I believe that was the first song you sent to me. Neon was definitely where I started. So.
Okay, and it wasn't really where I started because like I got really into Expiate, and like that's still one of my favorite opening riffs. And then ultimately that led me to the self-titled. So when I like had actually. When I was actually truly like giving Erra a chance, self-titled was already out. It came out like 2020 or 2021, like early pandemic kind of. And that's the album that they've become most popular off of. So I kind of got into them weirdly, like through branching into multiple albums. But I think the first one I really sunk my teeth into was self-titled. That was the first one that I really went through like every song, and grew to really love it. Like. I started by just listening to some of like the hits like Snowblood and Divisionary, and then ultimately got through all of it. And not, we're not doing an album review for that one, but I'll just say like definitely grew to really love that album. And then you'd listened more to Neon than I had. I'd listened to like Expiate and like a couple others on the album, but like hadn't went through the whole thing. But you had texted me about a few songs that stood out to you, so I was like, I should just give this Neon a chance. And I've since gotten quite into Neon. Like I have a really solid, like a solid impression of Neon as well. Like, it's two really strong albums overall in a band's discography. Like, those two, one after the other. Leading into Cure, and then I've also since dabbled in Drift, but actually I dabbled in Drift a little after getting into Cure, after Cure came out. So really, like, Cure was kind of like the third album for me listening to Erra, but it was at a point in time where they already had two that I would have considered like albums I really enjoyed. So coming into Cure, I had pretty high expectations and hopes. Like, it was like, oh, this band's like kind of what I know of them is 2 for 2, along with like these random bangers like Dementia from this older album. So definitely was excited, and I would say like the singles, which of course we'll get into the actual songs, but the singles like left a good impression too. So that's kind of where I came in with Cure, like high expectations, high hopes, and having enjoyed a couple other albums from Erra's discography. What about you?
Yeah, so Neon was where I started from your recommendation, and yeah, as you noted, it kind of grabbed me maybe a little more than it did you at first. I still haven't listened to any of their earlier stuff. I've listened to Neon, Self-Titled, and now Cure. I did hear the Cure singles, and they didn't really grab me at first. Okay. So I kind of just didn't. I think I listened to the album maybe once through and didn't really give it my full attention initially. But so this was a good experience to actually go through it in more detail. But love Neon pretty much all the way through, especially like Signal Fire, Expiate. The last three songs are all amazing. Yeah, that 3-song sequence is
Signal Fire. Yeah, so it's like peak of the album for me.
Yep. And then love the self-titled too. And it's been interesting to see their kind of transformation stylistically from even just from Neon to today. But yeah, that's basically where I came in. I like, all kinds of different metal. So this is just another one to add to the library. It's been great.
Yeah, and that's partially why I teed this one up, is because when I was thinking of albums to do for this, I was like, I did really like, obviously I thought of albums that I'd enjoyed a lot recently that I was pretty sure you hadn't listened to much, and I was like, oh, I've been really into Cure for a while, and I knew you liked other Erra, but I never like heard you, like, we'd never really talked about Cure other than like, I think literally when a couple of the singles were brand new before the album even came out. So I was like, this could be a good excuse to get you to listen to it. So
yeah, I definitely do. I have less total hours of listening to music than I did 10 years ago or whatever. But so if something doesn't like really grab me right off the bat, lots of times it kind of gets tossed to the side. So
yeah,
and this one just took a little bit more attention. So
yeah, let's start going through the album. Feel free to deviate, but we kind of want to just talk through track by track, make sure we kind of cover everything while we're talking about the album, and as we go, we'll sort of uncover things we've put in this grid that correlate to the songs and themes we're talking through. But I think it was technically the second single. So Pale Iris came out so this album came out around April. It was either like late March or early April 2024. Pale Iris came out like June 2023. Like, I remember a trip I took to Epic at the time. It was new, and I like really liked it when it was new. But so Pale Iris, it's funny in the context of this album to talk through the track listing a bit, and I don't want to belabor Pale Iris too much here, but it's always been a weird one for me. Like, it almost feels like it's not actually on this album, because I like literally had listened to it for like 9 months before. I know there's a lot of album release strategy has changed a lot, since in the time we've been listening to music. It used to be a couple singles, and the number of singles has grown, and for some albums more of the album ends up being singles than not something I love as someone who loves to give a whole album like track by track, really like listen to it cover to cover and like digest it in that manner. But I also know why bands do it. But so it's kind of weird starting not with Pale Iris, but we'll start with Cure because it's track one, and I think it's like the most iconic single. It felt like the lead single for like the actual album release for me, even though Pale Iris came out like way before, because it was like when they actually started releasing the singles leading up to the album, not like way before.
Right.
So
Pale Iris.
Yeah.
That was a very classic, just real quick, very classic thing of like, if there was a band I'm anticipating a release of, lots of times I would avoid listening to a single so that I wasn't sick of it by the time the album came out, or that it wouldn't stand out, in the way that Pale Iris kind of does. Yeah, if you listen to it a bunch and now you're going through the album, you're like, oh yeah, and then there's just this song, which I already know super well.
Yeah, right. It feels like it's from the album because you've been listening to it for 10 months or whatever. I kind of thought like I wondered if Pull from the Ghost was going to be on the album. Like I was like, is that one going to be on
Mm.
too? And then they didn't put that one on. So I was glad that they let that one be a standalone. That one came out, in 2022 or something. So that would have been
Yeah.
a little bit even more egregious. But yeah, we'll just start with Cure. I mean, awesome title track. In my opinion, I think like it's the most streamed song on the album. I think it's not going to be any surprise to be calling it out as an album highlight necessarily, and I think I'll just go ahead down here and immediately uncover this for me as one of the highlights. Great start to the album. A thing I love about the song here is it like really walks this line. Here's the text color of like being kind of just quintessential metalcore, but like feels a little different. Like the bendy riff is like it's not quite as heavy and relentless. Like it's got a little bit more of like a vibe and a beat to it versus just being like heavy intense metalcore song like kind of Pale Iris is, so I think they kind of like but like because the riff is so sick, it still like really scratches the just like I just want a banger metalcore song. It's like a lead single itch to me. Like it feels like a bit of a like checking two boxes really well kind of thing of like a bit different but also what you want the lead single to feel like. And particularly opening riff is just like one of my favorite opening riffs in a while. I love that it like kind of sounds like basic, like when the lead guitar comes in with the like like it kind of reminds me of like an AC/DC like Thunderstruck riff. Like it has like
I can see it. I can see
an
it.
old style guitar that like a classic rock band like that tone that like is fun, but like and like caught me off guard the first time, but then I was like, that's really sweet actually.
But then with all the modern layers and everything that creates the atmosphere behind it, yeah. No, I totally agree. Cure is an awesome opener. Love the opening sequence, and that's going to be opening riffs being sweet is a theme for this album for sure. Yeah. They're definitely like I feel like almost every song is just like very exciting right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And yeah, this one definitely no exception. Probably one of my favorite openings. There's another one that I think I like even a little bit more, but yeah, I love the opening sequence and the like, not just the opening riff, but even the part immediately after that where it's like just the combination of the harsh vocals, the screams with like this syncopated drum part that almost has like I don't know. It has a really cool feel to it that really like the drums just accentuate the vocals really well. Which I also think is a theme for the album. Like this drummer, he doesn't do anything like super flashy typically, but everything just fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beats are good on this album. The rhythm, that'll be a theme that we get back to a lot. But yeah, they do create a lot of good bounce in your head to like bob in your head a bit to metalcore, which is like we're more used to like banging the head and having like face melting guitar parts or whatever. But this album is really really strong and the like, ooh, this is groovy, like this is just nice, like with the tempo and stuff. And then I have to call it like the breakdown at the end. It's just so satisfying in this one too. Like I feel like this album more so than like the self-titled, which I feel like was a borderline gratuitous at times with the lead guitar breakdowns. Like this album's more restrained, and that could be considered like to some it could be considered a weakness or like a disappointment that like they don't have quite. I feel like there's fewer moments that are just like obviously like, oh, this is a big like huge breakdown right here. Like there's a bit less of that, but there still are plenty of really satisfying big moments like that, and the end of Cure is definitely one of them. Breakdown at the end is sick.
Yeah, love it. And I agree with what you're saying about the breakdowns. It was definitely like I was expecting more of that based on their prior work, but the ones that are in here are great for sure.
Yeah. Well, then it's Rumor of Light, which was a grower for me. And I feel like this was one that I think Rumor of Light is maybe the song that like most, I'm trying to think of the word, like illustrates or epitomizes like this theme of the album, where it like compared to like a lot of the heavy hitters on self-titled, like things like Divisionary, Scorpion Hymn. I mean, there's obviously all over the place on that album, just like there are here, but like I feel like this song for a while for me was like I don't really know what they're going for with it. Like it felt like it wasn't it didn't have any big moments. It didn't have
Hmm.
like a super sick guitar part or like one
Well, wait,
sequence.
really?
Well,
Rumor Light?
the solo's cool. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I was gonna
Solo's cool.
say
It's a
this is
different kind of solo though. It's not as, in
it
my
is.
opinion, it's not as flashy. I don't know. I know like
I like it.
it
It's
is a
maybe
really good
my
solo. I do like it. And where I'm
there's
going with this is I actually like really love the song now,
okay.
but like
Yeah.
earlier on, I felt like it just felt a little like slow and lackluster, and I feel like I was looking for things that they weren't doing, which
Mm.
that was like an early theme for me with this album. Was kind of just being
Yeah.
like, where's the stuff that was like, Neon and Self-Titled are, but just both pretty flashy albums. Like I think that's just like a fair adjective to describe both of them. They're just like
Yep.
the lead guitar work is almost always one of the focal points. And again, there's almost every song, if not like literally every song, has like some big moment, whether it's a breakdown, some insane riff, a solo, or like two or three of those things all in one song.
Right. Right.
And Rumor of Light happens to be the one with the solo, but like most of the song is like kind of laid back feeling. Maybe laid back's the wrong word. Like the first verse is like pretty driving, and I love that like riff during the first verse, and it comes back again in the second verse. Like there's a riff that's like pretty heavy and punishing, but like the actual chorus part is pretty like almost just like groovy. Yeah, like it's more beat driven. It doesn't feel super flashy. It's like not a soaring melody per se. So yeah, I don't know. I felt like just it was like it just felt like, oh, this is what I expected them to be doing after like
Yeah.
Cure, which is very flashy. Like Cure has the big riff and the big like breakdown and stuff. So yeah, but I've come to really love Rumor of Light. It's one that I didn't quite make my highlights list, but we'll start talking about this. And the highlight list is really hard because every song brings something really good to the table on this album. Like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, that's like a theme.
I only put a couple on mine just because I have talking points to more
Yeah,
than two
yeah.
songs, but
Okay, yeah.
I typed way too much about one song, so I just put put two songs
Well,
in there.
the
But
point of the exercise of picking the highlights, right, is you gotta like actually pick your top few things. If you like, it's not every song you like, because if it was every song I liked on this album, it would end up being almost every song. So
yeah,
or
yeah.
I mean, it would end up being every song, but like even the ones that I really like, it would be almost every one. And Rumor of Light was one that I was like, I would say it was a slow burner for me, and I've ended up being super into it lately. It's like one of the ones that I would say the last like few months I've returned to a lot. And it wasn't one that in the first like 6 months I thought was like one of the standouts. But yeah, like I said, I love the like riffs and the verses, super cool. Like basically it's one of those songs where once the like first riff kicks in, it's really hard for me to switch the song. Just like get into it immediately, like want to just keep hearing it. It just feels like it stays really satisfying after that.
Yeah, for me, I mean, this was a pretty, and maybe it'll grow on me in the same way it has for you, but pretty like standard fare metalcore, especially as far as Erra goes, and kind of some of the same things you're saying, like where's the big moment, where's the breakdown, where's the whatever it may be. Yeah, this one is definitely like in the lower half of the album for me, but I definitely wanted to call out the guitar solo as I'm pretty sure my favorite guitar solo on the whole album.
Yeah, I think
Now,
it's the only guitar solo on the whole album. So
yeah, depending on like how you define guitar solo, yeah. Yeah, it's probably the only like true solo. Which is weird because coming from Erra's past work, especially Neon, Neon is just guitar solos all day.
Even Self-Titled had a lot.
And Self-Titled had, yeah. And, for me, I don't know if this is jumping around too much, but
no, go for it.
I actually might call that a weakness. Now, it's hard because if I'm looking at the album completely disregarding the rest of their work, I don't know if I'd be calling it out as a weakness. But knowing what they're capable of with the guitar, I kind of wanted a little bit more of that. Just like, where's the like remnant level of guitar solo? Like, there's nothing like that on this album. And that was a little disappointing to me.
That was disappointing to me for a while. Yeah.
And I think it's just not what they were going for, but
yeah,
I've come to want and expect that from Erra. So that was a little bit of a disappointment for me.
No, I think that's super fair. I think I dwelled on that for a lot and still feel that a little bit. Do you have that here? Should I highlight something?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Highlight it if you know where it is.
Yeah, I got it. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, so I like the stylistic shift they've been going through. They're definitely clearly going for a completely different thing than they were in the past.
Yeah.
And there's definitely still nice guitar parts sprinkled in throughout, and I
Right.
appreciate those. But yeah, just not as many of those
Yep.
really memorable guitar leads.
Yep. And I'm just gonna highlight this part right now because it's like what we're talking about. We're barely in, but I knew this was gonna come up relatively early, and might as well bring it up on Rumor of Light, which for me, this Rumor of Light is like the song that is most. Oops, just like totally botching this here. Is like maybe. It's funny because it's the one with the solo, but I also feel like it's really emblematic of this theme. And I read an interview. I either read or listened to an interview with Jesse Cash, the like lead guitarist who writes most of the lead guitar work, I think, or at least he's one of the main writers of the guitar work. And I know he does a lot of the like flashy solos and stuff. And then he's also the clean vocalist, where he said, and I read this interview like 8 months. I don't know, like it might have been in January or something. I read that he said that like they totally wrote the album to explore and focus on. And this imagery just stuck with me because I thought about it and was like, that makes so much sense now. That like they made all the guitar work focused on the right hand, so like the hand that's strumming instead of the left hand doing like all the soloing and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's how it feels. It literally feels like the album's not written to focus on the like crazy like tapping they do in a lot of stuff in solos. It literally feels like it's all focused on the like rhythm of how they're playing it, the riffs, and not just like how are they jumping around in the riff to make it sound cool, but like the actual like rhythm that they're playing it in with the right hand. And to me it felt a lot less sophisticated for a while, and I still would say that like that is less sophisticated in some way. Like I think that's a true statement, but like it's made me revisit some of the riffs and be like, that is just like a really intricate like rhythm that they're doing in the riffs.
Yeah,
and
it's not like your basic it's chugging a lot throughout, I would call it chugging type of riffs, but they're like, intricate, interesting chugging.
Yeah, and they're changing it up a lot. It'll be like
it's
a
not
sequence
just,
that's like one really cool, like rhythm, and then totally different for another sequence, and they'll go back, and then they'll like slow it way down, and they'll pick it up again. So it's definitely a core theme for this. Like you and I both coming from Neon and Self-Titled, like I was like wondering how long it would take us to get to the starting point, and it's like, it's immediate. It feels different. And in some ways it's a bit of a disappointment, but I've come to like really appreciate that like they went all in on it, and that's what they were trying, and I think they made really cool stuff going all in on it, that like if they were just spending half the songs noodling and tapping and soloing, like they wouldn't have gotten some of the really cool stuff they got that's a little bit more different. So yeah, that's a core theme for sure.
Yeah, and I will say just on that note that I didn't dive super deep into the lyrics or anything, but of what I've read about the lyrics and what lyrics I have heard and read, I feel like this style lends itself better to the kind of darker, kind of bleak.
That's true, yeah.
Lyrical theme that they're going for, and really the album as a whole, especially just from song 1, Cure, is really just very different, like mood and tone, like just kind of darker for me.
Yeah. I felt like Self-Titled was kind of dark, but
Self-Titled was leaning that way. I feel like this one's just like fully committed.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, should we move on? Idlewild, track 3.
Yeah, let's do it.
Start with this one.
Sure.
I've talked first for way too long.
Yeah, I like this song a lot. It's not one of my 2 highlights, but but I do like this song a lot. I think it's probably the catchiest chorus on the album. Gets stuck in my head a lot.
Yeah, it's
and it's a great contrast to the verses that are just absolutely brutal.
Yeah, the verses are sick. I love the verses in Idlewild.
Yeah, it's a really nice, and I think they juggle that really well throughout the whole album, of just going from just brutal guttural growls and chugging riffs into like glorious choruses, or just very catchy, like almost poppy choruses. And I think this one just like perfectly showcases that.
Yeah, not a highlight for me either, and I would say this is more reflective of like the quality of the album as a whole. It's probably one of my like least favorite songs on the album, but I still really enjoy it. I really like the verses. Chorus is definitely a catchy one, but the other ones have just aged better for me as a whole, I would say, for the most part. So I really I like it. I'd say like if I had to like come up with skips on the album, which I genuinely don't think this album has any like true skips, but I would say Idlewild's like, if I was like I had to pick one that I skip the most often, it would be in the mix right now currently, for which ones I skip the most often. But
Fair enough.
I agree that it's catchy and that one thing I will say about Idlewild that kind of stands out a little bit about it, I feel like its bridge. I'd be curious. It's always like I wish I could know what was going through the writers' heads, you know, like when they wrote parts. I feel like the bridge like kind of just goes nowhere, and then it just does another chorus. I don't know if you can think of it.
Yeah, I agree.
The verses are awesome, and then the chorus is catchy, and then it's like they have an opportunity for something, and I feel like it just kind of spins and does another chorus. It's like, oh, where what did they want to do with that? Like it kind of just did nothing.
Yeah.
It's almost like just have it be a 2-chorus song and fade out or something. I don't know.
I feel that. It's still not a skip for me. It is simpler and but it's just I just really love the contrast of the chorus and the verses. They're just very satisfying.
The thing that went like early on listening to the album that has remained true. It's just like that one like hasn't like grown over time since, but like I immediately was like, oh, Rumor of Light and Idlewild both have sweet verses. Like I just loved the like the verses are like intense and driving, but also like dynamic. They're not just like one thing repeated 4 times or whatever, and like they each do different things in the verses too.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Absolutely. I uncovered my what stands out because I've covered all these points at this point.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm not going to talk through those again.
yeah, okay.
All right.
Then we go on to Blue Reverie. Oh, I gotta make your a G, not white.
Yeah, I missed my G. Provoking.
So Blue Reverie, and I'll uncover that for me. Again, real tough decision here. Debatable with other tracks because of how good they all are, but I put Blue Reverie as a highlight for me, specifically because it just is so. Erra's not a band that's ever like been differentiated by their creativity. They've sometimes do creative things, to be clear. It's not like they are the least creative band ever. It's not their strength isn't their creativity. I would say. But Blue Reverie is definitely territory where it's like I don't hear a lot of songs like this, especially by a band like Erra, that hasn't went in this direction too much in the past. They've kind of done a couple curveballs before, like Memory Fiction, the last track on the subtitled. Mm-hmm. Which has actually become one of my absolute favorites. Like, it was a total, like, okay, this is kind of cute, I guess. And then, like, I didn't listen to it that much early on. And then now I just freaking love it. I don't know, it's just the lyrics and the, like, way he sings it is just soaring and really beautiful. But I digress on that point. With Blue Reverie, it's another, like, oh, they are, like, doing a few more curveballs. But it's still, in the context of this album, it still really felt like Erra. Like, it had that dark vibe, like, that you're talking about. Like, it just feels bluesy in, like, the way that they are. Like melancholy in the way that the whole album does, like it fits the mood. Mm-hmm. But then it's just like a soft rock track basically for most of it, and then the breakdown in the middle is just outstanding. Like, it's one of my favorite. Like it's like almost predictable when you're like getting 2 minutes into the song. You're like, I feel like they have to do something in the song, to like make it not just this, but
it hits.
It's amazing. It's absolutely perfectly executed. It's super heavy in just the right way. Like it somehow fits the rest of the mood of the song, even though it gets that heavy, and the rest of the song is, like I said, basically like a soft rock song.
Right.
I love it. Still love it. It's it's a bit long of a song, and like at the end of the day, it kind of like drones on a little. Like if it has a weakness, it's that like it's overall slow paced and goes on for a while, but like that breakdown that just like totally changes the gears in the middle is super satisfying and helps keep the attention, and it's just kind of like a beautiful melancholy rock song outside that. So just I love that they wrote that and executed it that well, and I would love to see them continue to specifically using Neon as a counterpoint. Like Neon has like not that much differentiation between the songs, so it's super cool to see them get here in a couple albums of like, oh, this song is just its own thing. Like no other songs on the album are like this one.
Yep. Yeah. I love this one. It probably should have made my highlights section. It's probably like top 3 on the album for me. But yeah, I love that. I'm gonna go ahead and reveal my strengths here because I've pretty much talked through these two, and I'll probably touch on them more here. But I love the contrast of the intro to this one as opposed to like almost every other song, which is like just big mean guitar riff to start the track, and this one's just like super chill and quiet to start. So it kind of throws you off a little bit. And then I just love the flow of this song, the way it, like, pretty much after the first chorus, it just goes into this like really nice, like little chuggy, like guitar riff, probably in some weird time signature. I'm not sure because it just sounds so cool. And then from that straight into like definitely my favorite breakdown on the album.
Yeah.
And also wanted to just throw out that it has really cool cymbal work in that breakdown. Get some nice, like splashes, and it's a great breakdown. Top tier breakdown for sure.
Yeah. The guitar tone is awesome too. It's like so deep. I don't know. I don't know how all the tuning works, but it's got to be like that. It's like that one note that they're playing in the breakdown basically, but it's just like so satisfyingly tuned so low. It just sounds great.
Yeah, so that's I love that song. Probably top 3.
Yeah. Cool. I was wondering where that one landed for you.
Yeah.
And we come to Slow Sour Bleed. Want to take the reins with this one?
Sure. Yeah. Love this one too.
Saw notes on this one for you. Yeah. So I was like,
yeah, I think this is probably also top 3. Let me
so I know
cover my little highlight here. There we go. Yeah, I said it's as mean and dirty as it gets. I think this is just like the most like grimace-inducing, just mean mugging, banging song on the album. It's just well executed, and it's very reminiscent for me. I can't remember if you ever listened to these guys, but
I haven't. Yeah.
Me and Nick got really into After the Burial, and particularly their album Wolves Within.
Okay.
And they did this like staccato scream thing where it's like like stuttered kind of thing in it, like throughout the album, especially on a couple songs. And the like towards the end of the song, some of the screams are like super reminiscent of that album, and like pretty much the same vocal tone too. So I was just like, it took me straight, like first time I listened to it, I was like, oh, this is like straight off Wolves Within. At least that one, towards the end, like the back half, pretty much.
Okay.
Which is a compliment because I love that album. I listened to that album a ton back in like 2010 or whatever when it came out. But yeah, love this song. It's just a banger. It's for me, if I'm picking one song off this album that I just want to, headbang or run or whatever it may be, this would be the go-to of just like, give me a banger quick.
Yeah, I agree. Super well executed, just like clean, heavy, satisfying, catchy enough. He does the chorus. JT does the chorus. So he like sings, screams the chorus or whatever. But Jesse, I was gonna say, does Jesse sing in this one at all? But yeah, he does most of the verses, which is it's fun to see them like kind of switch up that role too. It's obviously usually the opposite, like Jesse doing the choruses for the melody and JT doing the verses with the heaviness in a lot of the other songs. But in this one, I mean, JT does some of the verses too, but like Jesse does the sort of softer part of the verses. Yeah, super good. Not quite a top highlight for me, but like I would never skip it listening through the album. Like it's super fun, it's hard. It feels like a little bit of a spiritual successor to like sort of a Scorpion Hymn type vibe, just like that. Yeah,
definitely.
Like they pick a few moments. Like I think they stay pretty balanced overall throughout the record in terms of like most of the songs don't fall like all the way on heavy or all the way on not heavy, like they're kind of like juggling the heaviness throughout in a really satisfying way, but then they pick a few spots to be like, all right, here we're going hard.
Yep.
And this is one of the times where they go hard. And then, but also, it has that funky groove to it, the little bit like dancey breakdown again, a little different. And I think, I'll highlight this strength here that we've already been kind of getting to. Like, at this point, we're on like the 5th song or whatever, and it's pretty clear. Like this trend will continue. It's not necessarily inherent that it would, but but like just every song is bringing something different to the table for them, like pretty much across the whole record. Like even the ones that aren't necessarily as creative are still doing something cool or something that's worth returning to. It's not just like track after track that are basically, you know, the same style, like written but with different melody, you know, or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, this is just doing something different than the other songs. So another great example of that.
Definitely.
Well, I'll jump in on it's Wish Glimpse next, right? Which I just treat as one song basically. I wish it was one song. It's super annoying that it's not.
Yeah, you wish it was.
Yeah, good one. So this one is interesting for me. It didn't like stand out a lot at first, and you know, I have been just listening to this album for like a year, and it's been in like pretty like I have went, you know, a month without listening to it at a time or whatever. But like in terms of albums that I just consistently revisit, it's been like I keep coming back to it, and typically it'll be a different song that I get into a little more this time that kind of pulls me back, and then it's been a strong enough album to where I like get more into like all of it again. And this is one that just like in the past few months, I think it's actually one of the ones that like made me kind of be like, oh, this would be a fun one to review. Like it kind of pulled me back in and got me back into it, particularly listening with the intro of Wish. Like,
yeah, you got to listen to them together. Absolutely.
Yeah, I wish it was just combined, because Wish is just a fun, like, again, it's kind of just breaking the, like, they don't just alternate, which is good. Like, they start pretty heavy, you know, like Cure is pretty heavy, and then it's like Rumor of Light, also pretty heavy, Idlewild, also pretty heavy, but all of them have breaks and heaviness with like melody, and then they come to Blue Reverie, and they're like, okay, we've been like pretty relentless, you know, not the heaviest record of all time, but like 3 metalcore like driving songs. Here's like some room to breathe, but also a sweet breakdown in the middle that's got some groove, and then they're like, anyways, here's super heavy again, you know, like the heaviest song, yes, Slow Sour Bleed, and then with Wish, it's like, all right, take a breather for like a minute. And then like the first minute of like after Wish, so it's like, you know, minute 20 or whatever, I don't know what it, you know, it's around a minute, and then it goes right into the riff of Glimpse, which like took me a while. I don't know, Glimpse, it just felt like kind of forgettable early on, and it is an interestingly structured song where like it's really heavy in a few parts. It's kind of exactly what I've been saying. It's really heavy, and like half the song by length is really heavy, and half the song by length is like not heavy, basically, you know, and then, but it's like broken up. And kind of an interesting, you know, the chorus is just like really lowly, like chanted vocals, basically, with Jesse kind of like chanting in the background vibe. Not a whole lot of like capturing soaring melody. So yeah, it just like took a while to grow, but what I've come to realize is that first like minute of Glimpse to me feels like the actual heaviest part of the album, like that opening riff, and it's basically like I see it as like a 3-step, like it has the opening riff where he's not screaming yet, and then there's like he starts screaming and the riff like changes and keeps going in the background, and then it changes again, and it has that like little like high-pitched repeating note, and I can't really like, I don't know if I'm allowed to play music. I'll have to figure that out on this. I'm just playing little background music. I can't like play the parts I'm talking about, but you know, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about with the first minute of Glimpse, but it kind of like escalates twice. It's like a pretty heavy opening riff, then it gets heavier when he starts screaming, and then it gets heavier a third time or a second time of getting heavier after that, where it's like that, and then like right after that it breaks into that chorus that's like a total pressure release valve. And that whole sequence for me, like the entirety of the song, I do think it like kind of drones on. Like I think they didn't need to like, it's cool. I like the chanting, and I like it. It's a cool vibe, but it's like not ultimately all that memorable, and I feel like it could have been shorter and didn't need to go on for so long. Like what I actually wish was that they cut like 40 seconds off the end and then just made Wish attached to the front, and it would be like a true highlight for me if they structured it that way. Instead,
we feel pretty much exactly the same about it.
But that opening is just amazing to me now.
It's
like one of my
the opening is incredible. One of the best moments on one of the best like sequences on the whole album for sure. But yeah, for me, after that, when it hits that first chorus, you get that pressure release. That's, you know, it's all amazing up to that. And then for me, it's just kind of, it doesn't go anywhere after that. I don't know.
That's the best part of the song. Is like Wish into the first minute, into the first chorus, and then the whole second half is like a less good version of that in a way that's like, okay, I don't know. When I first listened to it, and even subsequent listenings, is like just kind of a letdown, because the beginning is so powerful, and then it just it's like, I kind of, for me, this is the closest thing to a skip, but after the first minute, right? Yeah, I like
okay, I got to the first chorus, next song.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
The first minute is just, or whatever, approximately minute. That for that first opening sequence into the first chorus is like definitely one of the standout parts of the whole album for me at this point. And so it makes it like, all right, I'll listen to the whole song. But I do wish that they like went somewhere. Again, I feel like it's an example of them trying something different, and I don't fault them for it. Like I would prefer they like tried the stuff and had it not be monotonous than like redo the whole thing, but then have every song be redoing heavy sequence after heavy sequence, like predictable. It's a pretty unpredictable song amidst a fairly unpredictable album. So yeah, that's a overall strength, but in this particular song, it's just one. It sounds like for both of us, yeah, that like back half falls flat, which is unfortunate because the first half is like Wish into like the first part is so good. So
yeah. Well, I think we've said enough about that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now are we to your
yeah, this gem? Is Past Life Persona, definitely my favorite song on the album. Probably wrote too much fluff about it, but I'm gonna turn it to black text here. It's a diamond in the rough, and I'm not saying that the rest of the songs suck, but it stands out so distinctly for me because it's just such a huge break from the rest of the album and a curveball, really. Like, for me, the first time I listened to the song, I just got like chills from the opening guitar, because just the guitar alone, the notes, the tone of it, everything about it is so like uplifting and kind of bouncy and happy feeling.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's such a huge just pressure release, kind of like how you said about the first chorus of Glimpse. Mm-hmm. It's just like, it just like kind of washes over you, and it just feels good. It just feels good the whole time. And the chorus is nice, and there's just beautiful guitar work throughout the whole thing. Leading into the second chorus, there's like this amazing tapping guitar part, which is like, there's a little bit of old Erra sprinkled in the background. But it's like, it's not a solo, it's like layered into the whole mix. And it didn't even really stand out to me the first couple listens. I think it's like relatively easy to miss if you're not paying attention. But like basically the part directly before, I don't know if it'd be a pre-chorus or what, but directly before the second chorus, it doesn't come back.
I can think
it's just one little like this nice little tapping guitar, like, but it's like really fast and intense, and it's just in the background, and it just gives it this like angelic feel. And they do little things like that throughout the album, just like little details, like, this time we go to the chorus, again, in this song, in the second chorus, they have screams with the cleans, which are not present in the first chorus. And then, like, I love how in the second chorus, now we've got screams, and then there's like the one and only standalone scream right after that. And it's just like such a nice little like build up a little bit, boom, give you that, and then just like back to chill. And just this song feels great. Definitely my favorite on the album. It's almost poppy feeling, like at least the chorus is. But like if I had a whole album of these, I don't know how much I would want that. But this song among the rest of the songs is just like perfect.
So true.
I love it.
Yeah, I echo so much of what you said there. This album for me was what you said Idlewild was earlier. Like, first, it's funny that it immediately stood out to you. For me, it was totally the opposite, where like it was so innocuous, because it was like, where's the like big moment kind of thing, like waiting for like something to grab me more so than just like a melody and a chorus, because they do melodies and choruses really good, and like the riff is good, but it's not like overly sophisticated. So like definitely first like 5-10 listens through the album, it was kind of like, this one's like, what's going on with this one? It's not like grabbing me in a specific way that like they would usually grab me in, but it was the one that then would get stuck in my head like all the time. And I was like, I guess I must really like this one. It keeps getting stuck in my head. And then sometimes I have this happen with songs, like the like epiphany moment where I just goes like, oh yeah, I do really like it. Like it takes me a while to like acknowledge to myself, it's been stuck in my head long enough, and now I'm finding parts of it that I love. What I thought was kind of like the forgettable attempt at a pop song is actually just an awesome contrast. Like you said, I would never want a whole album of that.
Right.
A song. But like, in this context by this band, the way they execute it, it's just and in the place in the album that it is, it's a standout. It was a hard one to not put in my highlights, but
you only get so many.
Can't put them all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That the reason it stood out to me immediately is just that. Honestly, just the opening riff was just like immediately euphoric for me.
It is like uplifting.
Coming from the rest of the very like dark, moody, grindy like nature of the album. And yes, there's clean vocals, and yes, there's other soft parts before this, but even the soft parts before this, they weren't the same like mood and tone as this. Definitely. And it just was, it just like washed over me. Like, love it.
A detail you didn't mention, but because you would have to mention every detail in the song to get to it. I loved like the last chorus too, where he goes like a little bit higher into some of the vocals that he said, like just another little.
Yeah, like every chorus is a little bit different.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is
in a way where it like stays true to the like kind of popish nature. Like it doesn't like suddenly become a metalcore song. Oh, now it's heavy at the end or whatever. But it's like, oh, here's a little detail to just like add a little punch of emotion. Like, make this part stand out so it's not the same chorus 3 times in this structure of song.
Right. That's the right way to do a more poppy song, in my opinion, or at least it's my favorite way. When each chorus has a little something different going on. Yeah. So it doesn't just get repetitive. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then we get to Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven, right? I think that's next.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything in here I should let me cover this. Let me black out this one here really quick, and because we've been talking about this, but a good bit. But, I feel like at this point is a good time to call it out, since we've now went through a few specific times we've called out the variation between the tracks, and I feel like this album is really good at. It's a really hard balance to achieve in albums. I think it's very easy for a critique of an album to be one of these two things. Either the tracks are all too similar, there's not quite enough variability, or it feels too much like a collection of songs and not like a cohesive album. It's really hard to be like walking that line. And I think this album does it really well. Like, I'm not gonna say it's like greatest of all time album in that regard, but like it like that is something that it is very good at. And it does feel like an album where all the songs go together. A consistent vibe, a consistent focus of the musicianship and the writing. But as we're getting through, and we'll continue to get through now with the transition from Past Life Persona to Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven, we will continue this. It's like, it just feels like every song is like, oh, and now we get this thing, and it's a little different. Now we get this a little different. Now we get this a little different. So
I mostly agree. I think I have a slightly different opinion, but definitely agree that it's a very cohesive album. It doesn't feel like a collection of songs. It feels like this is an album. These all are on one piece of art. And I think for the most part, they do get that, like, every song has its own unique thing going on. But I actually put as one of my weaknesses, and I shouldn't have put many because that's definitely a gross exaggeration, but some of the songs have like some similar formulas going on, and it is like the whole thing feels similar in tone for me, other than there's a couple exception songs like Past Life Persona, like kind of like Idlewild, kind of Wish, Glimpse, Blue Reverie. Okay, there's several exceptions, but the overall, like, the majority tone, I guess, is kind of the same. And
I don't say a lot of them fit the same tone, certainly. Like, I feel like there is there's like an emotional mood to the album that pretty much all of it falls in. Past Life Persona,
and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, but I think that does contribute to you can be doing like different things musically, but like feel less so like you're doing that if you're fitting like the same mood over and over again. So I think that could be one way in which I see the point there.
Yeah. And to be clear too, I had to think of a couple of weaknesses. This is not like, I don't want this to be overstated as like I think the whole thing sounds samey, but for me there's a couple songs in particular that kind of blur and wash out for me when I think about the album as a whole and when I listen to the whole thing all the way through. There's like a couple on the album that
it's not like every song is just creative genius song,
and that doesn't necessarily mean they're skips for me. They can still be good songs. They're just, they don't stand out as memorable as
Mm-hmm.
much as the other ones do. So
Yeah.
yeah, just wanted to note that here.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven, that was the single, I think. No, it went Pale Iris, super old single, then Cure, then Blue Reverie, then Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven. And I felt like Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven when I first listened to it. I was like, this feels like they're kind of going for like a Scorpion Hymn 2.0, which I already kind of said about Slow Sour Bleed too, but more so actually this song, because Scorpion
definitely
Hymn, it has a
heavy
chorus. Yeah, it just feels like really. You use the word like nasty to describe Slow Sour.
Yeah,
I would definitely use that word to describe Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven as well. And it's just like Scorpion Hymn has some repetition with riffs, not quite in the same way. Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven is really has a lot of repetition with the riff in a way that's like repetitive, but in a little bit like not in a I don't know if creative is like the perfect word, but like sometimes repetitive can just be in a dig, right? But like the repetition of the riff and Crawl Backwards, I think, is a pretty cool part about the song. Like they play off it, and it's like it is the song basically, that riff, in a way that's like not true of very many songs, right? Like most songs that have a cool riff are still like verse chorus, bridge chorus, or whatever, with a cool riff in there somewhere. The Crawl Backwards is like, this is mostly just this one riff playing and like, you know, a couple other sequences mixed in. It's a really strong song. It was like I feel like it was, for the first maybe 6 months or so, it was like what I would have said it was a highlight. And like other songs have aged better than it, but I still like love the riff that it's built around. Still love the like just the like nastiness of it. It's like like one of a few songs that like really give you that like want to run, like give that adrenaline pumping vibe. I love having some of those on my metalcore albums, so I'm glad that they nailed it there. And I wish the album name, or the song name wasn't like that lyric. Sometimes it's like a really minor note, but I like getting to like a thing that isn't. I like when you have a cool, like, because it's a cool lyric, but making it the song name almost makes it feel like you're drawing too much attention to the cool lyric you wrote, kind of thing. Like let that just be like mixed in and name it something else. I don't know. Like Past Life Persona, that's not said in the song, right? I don't know. Like it's a super cool song name. If the song name was, I don't know, Find My Voice or something, or what, like a lyric from the chorus, it might feel a little more generic, honestly, or a little more cliche in a way. And I feel like that's a thing that kind of happens with this song, is like the fact that like one of the iconic lines in the song is just the song name.
And it might hit a little harder if it wasn't. Yeah.
So that might be a critique there that I felt like I had to call out, but.
It's actually interesting that you point that out with the song name, because not to totally jump to the next song, but I actually love the call out of the song name on End to Excess.
Oh yeah, but that's like not the.
But that's it's not the main part.
Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven is repeated more though. End to Excess is like said once, I think.
True.
Yeah.
Well, I think he like screams it a few times. It's like,
well, it's like one part. He doesn't say it in multiple.
One part.
It's just the ending that he says it like.
But like,
times,
yeah. And it's kind of a simpler, shorter phrase too. It's very, I think it's very effective in that way for a song name call out. But yeah, I totally agree. This one, it's the complete opposite. This song for me, I like it. It's kind of one of the ones that blurs into the mix for me.
Okay.
It's definitely like, I don't know. It kind of feels like Slow Sour Bleed Jr. almost.
The fact that you like Slow Sour Bleed so much, I was like, where you were gonna land on this one.
Well, yeah, just this one for me, like, it doesn't do enough. I get what they're doing, and it is cool that they built, the whole thing around this riff, and I like the like almost industrial electronic sound at the beginning. Like when I first listened to the song, I was like, ooh, where's this gonna go? And then it just kind of does the same thing the whole time. It's like, oh, okay, well. I mean, that's a cool thing and all, but I don't know. I like the clean vocal part. I'm not crazy about on this one either. I almost feel like they
I like it.
Either I like wish the clean vocal part was different, or there was just no clean vocals. I don't know. It fell a little flat for me. So
fair enough. There's one part where it switches.
Not saying it's a bad song, not a skip for me. Just not my favorite.
No, I mean that's you're gonna have different opinions. It's definitely one that I still enjoy quite a lot. And there is a part in there too that there's like the riff of the song. There's like the repeated part, but there's one part where it goes from like that riff to like a more groovy like head shaking riff kind of thing. I don't know, like kind of towards the middle of the song before the clean vocal part. I love that part. That sequence is awesome. Gives it like a, just, I don't know, just a vibe. I like it. It's a good one. It's not on either of our list of highlights, so clearly neither of us, is like, it's not our favorite, but for me, it's a, and I see it, for me, I see it as fitting kind of amongst this, like, it's just a little bit different. It's like a song built around this one riff. It's not the same as like a Glimpse. It's not the same as like a Rumor of Light, Idle Wild. Like, it's kind of doing its own thing in the context. Most closely similar to Slow Sour Bleed, but again, Slow Sour Bleed is like the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus version of this nasty metalcore banger, and this is like the we're just gonna like do this one riff over and over again, and kind of that's it. Like, have a couple other sequences in there, go more for like this industrial vibe that's creepy almost, Like,
yeah, right.
So, yeah. All right, and Excess, you want to start on that one? Curious where you landed on that one.
Yeah, sure. I don't have a ton to say about this one, but I like it a lot. Wouldn't say it's like one of my favorites, but I like the chorus a lot. It's very catchy. Yeah, and the end to Excess call out scream to me is like an iconic moment on the album. I don't know. It stood out to me. It for me, that was like there's certain like August Burns Red like call out scream lines that this was reminiscent of for me. Just like a very, like, I could see being at a show and that end to Excess scream would just be like an epic part.
Really cool. It is super
cool.
Yeah, end to Excess for me is like metalcore candy. It's like,
that's a good description.
And sometimes that can be a little bit of like a, not like insult, but like it can be a little bit of like a, well, this song isn't great because it kind of is like doing some like things that are just quintessential or cliche metalcore. But for me, this one is like, I feel like it's important to me personally on this album that like it had this song, because it just is like, it's like the beautiful opening guitar riff. Like, I love the opening. It's just this feels really like, I don't know, atmospheric, and it's just like this beautiful vibe, pretty different. It's like more of an uplifting sort of riff. And it doesn't like just become a heavy riff in the opening. It like transitions into the verse before it gets, just like they add the like oohing vocals over it, and they add the drum beat, and then they go into the verse, which then gets heavy with the more like chugging. But like, they don't make that beautiful riff heavy in the opening sequence, and I feel like that's a cool choice and a little unconventional. And then you get the super satisfying heavy verses with like a really nice breakdown in the second one and in the ending sequence. And then you get this super catchy chorus, and it just all works for me. It just feels soaring, and like, it's like, anyways, we've been trying all this stuff on this album. Here's just a metalcore song that we'll do like 10 out of 10 version of.
Yeah, just very well executed veteran metalcore song.
So it's probably the song I currently revisit the most, because, and like, that won't, I don't expect that to always be the case, but it just checks so many boxes for me as a metalcore fan. It's like, this song is like, you could have played it for me when I was first getting into metalcore, and it would have helped me get into metalcore kind of song. It's like accessible, but still done really well. And it's like the type of dangerous song of like, if an album is 10 of these, they're all bad all of a sudden, or like they're all forgettable.
Yeah.
But when the album has 1.5 to 2.5 song or whatever, you could argue how many songs in this album.
Yeah, I'd say like 3 for me.
Yeah, like, kind of, I think you're picking parts of songs for some of it, so like, kind of
maybe, yeah.
Chunks of it. I don't think there's like too many. I mean, I would say Pale Iris kind of fits this mold too.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pale Iris and maybe Rumor of Light, maybe.
Yeah.
It might be a bit of a.
You can pick like some chunks of songs again that like also kind of fit the mold a bit, but like, there's not too much of it, right? It's not like half the album or more. It's definitely less than half the album, and it's probably just like 3-ish songs that you could really argue are like, this is just a plain good metalcore song. And so yeah, again, similar theme with Past Life Persona kind of vibe. It's like, mixing some of that in is great for me. Love it.
Yeah,
it keeps me coming
and
back.
I think this was the best that they did of the like more standard quote unquote metalcore, like traditional metalcore. I think this was the best like showcase of that. Just of we can still do this thing really well.
I was curious how much you ended up liking it. I was like, this is the one that I'm like, no, I'm going to be saying I love. But I was like, I wonder if Paul will land if he'll like be like, oh, it was forgettable for me, or like, because if somebody was like, that one was forgettable, it just didn't end up like standing out anywhere, I'd be like, honestly, that's fair. I like, it's just
that's the next one for me.
Pale Iris.
Yeah.
Yep. No,
That's
yeah. Let's lead into Pale Iris then. Finally,
yeah. That's kind of like
whatever.
almost the forgettable version of End of Excess for me. It's like, okay, here's the metalcore thing again.
Yep.
Pretty, there's nothing too crazy. There's a little like pretty cool quiet build up part in the second half, but it doesn't like they do that like quiet to loud thing obviously throughout the album, and I think it's done a lot better in other spots. This one, it doesn't like pack the same punch as it does in other areas.
Yeah.
And it just, this is one of those that kind of washes into the mix for me a little bit.
Same. I mean, I think Pale, it's funny. If you would have told me this when I like first listened to it as a single, I would have been like, oh my god, that must be an amazing album.
Yeah.
And it is like, it just in a different way than I expected, I think. But like, I think Pale Iris is my least favorite song on the entire album, which is like crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy because when it came out as a single, I was like, this is a sweet metalcore song. Like, it's just well done.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, it is. But like at the end of the day, I kind of just, for me, the highlights of Pale Iris are like the opening riff into the first verse starts really cool. Like I love the guitar. I love how it starts. The guitar starts going like really fast, but then it like slows down midway into the verse when like the drum beat stays the same and the way he's screaming the verse stays the same, but the guitar in the background like changes the cadence. Like that part's really cool. And then the breakdown is like a cool breakdown. It didn't need to be repeated though. That's a thing that's like like doing it twice is like, okay, it was really good the first time. It's just less good the second time. So
kind of takes away from it. I totally agree.
It's an example of kind of like the glimpse how they like had the cool like weird chanting chorus type thing and then like did it too much almost. It's like, okay, it's a sweet breakdown. You can just do one sweet breakdown and kind of end the song after that. So
I have pretty strong feelings about that kind of thing. Like I think one-offs in songs like can make things just feel a lot more special. Like for example, that little like tapping guitar part in Past Life Persona. If they did that before all three choruses, I don't think it would feel as cool. But it's only before the second chorus, and it's like, ooh, that's nice. Every time you come back to it, it's like, oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then we get to Wave, which is another one. I mean, I've been curious about all your opinions, but I'll start with Wave. Kind of one that like, I mean, it's in the mix for me where like in the right day, right mood, I could like talk myself into it being in the highlights list. It has some really cool stuff in it. Also is like a little slow paced and has parts that like make me feel a little bored at times, perhaps. Maybe bored's like too harsh of a word, but like it has parts that are like not as interesting as other parts, that's for sure. So hence why it didn't end up on the list. But like the highs on the song are really high. It's another one that like isn't just like the catchiest chorus of all time, isn't like the heaviest of all time. It's sort of falling in this gray area like where I would have said like say Rumor of Light is in. I would say, a song like Glimpse kind of ends up in with the mix. It's like a mixed bag of things where you're like, and even still this is one where I'm like, I don't really even know exactly what they're going for. And I've been listening to this song for a year, but I do like it. I think it is like a break in the dark vibe for sure. Like it's one that ends on like a high note in terms of the mood. And they've like said that like it was meant to be like a moment of hope amidst an album that was not very hopeful in some interview that I read. And I think that strikes true. Like the ending is like beautiful, but like felt like it could have hit a bit harder. Perhaps that's maybe like my full like conclusion on the song for me is like it feels like it could have hit harder in some ways that would have made it like a true standout, and it like didn't quite deliver all the way. But like it has some really cool rhythms and beats throughout, like some of the drum beats. Like after the first chorus, the way it like goes into the second verse is super cool in my opinion. Like one of my favorite parts of the song. Probably that could be my favorite part of the song. I also do love the chorus. Like it is really catchy, and like feels like a different, there's like a type of chorus that End to Excess is that's just super obvious, like soaring big melody, and like that's not what Wave is, but it still accomplishes being like really catchy and holding my attention. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of like any given day it lands towards the middle of the album, but definitely one that I actively enjoy, and kind of like some of the times I've been into it, it's like, oh, I really love this song. Might make top highlights.
I like it. It's I'd say about the same for me, around the middle. It is one of my favorite opening riffs, probably like
super cool.
top 3 opening riffs. Yeah, but Yeah, I would say it's like an effective closer. Like it feels like a closing song,
Mm-hmm.
but I agree with you that the ending could have maybe packed a little more punch. But I do really enjoy the like almost ethereal chugging towards the end that kind of acts as the outro. I think it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could have been better, but I think it's still pretty effective as like a closing song. It
Yeah.
feels like closure to the
Yeah.
experience that you just went through. It feels like okay, I feel like I'm done now. I don't know. Some albums really don't have that like last song that actually feels like it's supposed to be the last song, but this
Yeah.
one does.
Yeah, it falls in kind of rare territory now that I'm like thinking about it a little more and trying to put it all into words of like it isn't a disappointing ending. I wouldn't say like it's not like a closing song where you're like, man, I feel like that fell flat, or just was like just another song where you kind of want something special out of the ending. Like it does feel like it's bringing something special to the table in the mix of the album, but like also doesn't feel like it's like this massive deliverance, right? Like it's kind of like so it's like not disappointing, but also not like oh that was like a such a good album closer. It's like somewhere in the
Yeah,
kind of.
I agree.
Ultimately, a good song, one that I like. Again, if I'm listening through the album, like most of the time I listen to the album, I don't skip anything really. But like if I'm gonna skip a song, it's Pale Iris. It's never gonna be like Wave, you know. It's never gonna be that one.
Yeah, let's do like top two, bottom two.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's fun. Put me on the spot. I hadn't thought about that much. Well, okay. I know your top one. Well, is your top two just the two you have listed here, or is
those are my top two?
Okay,
those are
Slow
my top
Sour
two.
Bleak, Past Life Persona. Yeah.
Yeah.
End to Excess would make it for all the reasons I said. It's sort of like not doing any one thing the best, but just is like my sweet spot of just a super well executed metalcore song that kind of has everything I look for. It's just so hard to pick between the others for me because they're all so very like they all kind of do different things. And I feel like it's going to be like I know you're not holding me to it, but just to like preface, like I think my answer for number two would just like vary on the day or vary on the mood.
That's
probably
fair.
Like there
That's
definitely
fair.
would have been a time it would have been Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven. I think for the first like 3 or so months, Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven was like like I'm End to Excess kind of like grew on me over time. Cure and Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven are probably like my top two for quite a while, and then I feel like Crawl Backwards has like fallen a little bit lower. I'd probably just pick Cure. It's just like honestly for similar reasons to End to Excess in terms of like it's kind of just a good metalcore song, and I feel like that's if I'm picking my top two and trying to sort of evaluate, it's like these are just ones that will always be in my rotation. Whereas even like a song like Blue Reverie that I do feel like is a highlight and is really cool is still going to be a little more like mood based when I'm going to pick to listen to it. Versus Cure is just like I want to listen to a sweet metalcore song with an awesome breakdown. All right, here we go. So that's probably my top two, but it's like really hard. Like Blue Reverie, not to do the thing where I just list like all the rest of the songs, but like Blue Reverie, Rumor of Light, those two for sure are like in the mix of like my top few. And then, like I said, this one does not fit cleanly, but like there's a chance that like Wish into the First Minute of Glimpse is like my actual favorite like 2 minutes of the album. Like it's
I mean, I agree with you there.
Insanely good.
It might be it's definitely up there in my favorite 2 minutes.
Not like full song, but like one part that just blows you away.
Yeah.
But I can't put it as like top song or top two.
Right.
It's kind of towards the middle there. Yeah.
And if I would have put 4 highlights like you, my next two would have been Cure and Blue Reverie. Just
interesting. Yeah,
think of it. Yeah. Those would have been my next two. But all right, bottom two.
Pale Iris is the super easy bottom.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
I'd go Idlewild probably is my next bottom one.
Okay, Idlewild. I'd probably go. Dang. Man, I said we should do this, and now I'm like actually.
I was like, I knew you'd pick Pale Iris because we basically just already agreed upon that.
Yeah.
Like, where do you go from there?
I'm kind of halfway between. I think I would say Rumor of Light. As much as I love the guitar solo, I just don't care that much about the rest of the song, to be honest. Yeah. It hasn't really, and maybe I need to give it some more time.
That was a real slow grower for me. That's all I'll say. Like, I would say that one probably would have been below Idlewild for me for like the first 6 months, and then kind of what I described to you with Past Life Persona kind of happened to me with Rumor of Light, where I just had like several weeks where I just had Rumor of Light stuck in my head all the time. It's just like those verses, like the cool rhythm of the riffs, and then it's a song that has like that that chorus where like it goes into like kind of the tapping, and it's just him like talking over the soft tapping before like the more like loud riff singing part of the chorus. That part is such like a, I don't know, it gives me like Metroid Prime 2 vibes, to be honest. I love that. Like, something about that vibe, like it just kind of fits this like spacey out in the stars vibe that I like really like. So yeah, I don't know. That's not that I'm trying to sell you on it, because at some point some song has to be your bottom two, but it did take a while to grow on me, and now I really like that one. I didn't like. I was kind of like waiting to get to these because I just felt like they were, it's an album that I've had a lot of good things to say about, obviously, and I wouldn't have like lined it up for us to spend an hour talking about if it wasn't one I knew I was going to enjoy talking about. So I obviously don't think there's any like super big weaknesses. I think a couple things I would say for me with this album is it lacks like a song of the year type track or tracks. Like that's something that the like contrast to this kind of album for me is maybe even like kind of like an August Burns Red album that can still be good, but a lot of times it's like, well, there's like 2 or 3 or 4 like amazing songs, and then there's like some good stuff, and then like filler. This is like the antithesis to that a little bit. There's like, no song. I mean, I don't, because I don't actually think anything from Kier was my song. I don't remember what like my top listened to. Not that that's like the exact measure I would use would be plays per se, but I think like Lotus by Avrilize or whatever was like a higher up plays. There wasn't like one song that was like, oh, that was my or a top 2, and I think that can help differentiate the great from the like the 4 from the 5-star or whatever, is like having those like couple top tier that will like always bring you back to the album when you've like been out of the rest of it for a year. Like it'll be interesting to me to see like, do I come back to this one in another year when there's not just like that Remnant or whatever type song. Like I don't think there's a song on this album that's as good as Remnant. Maybe not even as good as Signal Fire. Those are like a couple of the absolute top songs.
I'd agree with both of those statements.
So that's a weakness, if you could call it that. And then I would say it's, as much as I've been like highlighting the fact that I think it's creative enough and like there's differentiation enough, I don't know that like when you stand it up against all like everyone in modern metalcore, I mean not everyone, but a lot of the good artists, like they're trying to do things like this, right? I mean, this is what bands try to walk that line of like having an identity, catering to what people like in a genre, and also standing out and doing their own thing. I think Erra do a good job, but I don't think they're like doing such a good job that again, this is like something.
It's not groundbreaking.
Next level, right? It's like I think it's a step in the right direction. Like I'd love to see them keep growing and how it seems like they're growing, but it's not like they're totally doing something no one else can do.
I agree. It's not groundbreaking, but they're doing a lot of really cool, interesting things, and even when they're not doing something that different, they're just executing it well, and it's satisfying to listen to. But I really, the way they shift around with your emotions in this one is good. And the times when they stay more on rails in more of a monotone is kind of, I think, maybe what I was talking about, like in my first point there in the weaknesses. So but that's not a majority by any means.
All right, well,
rating?
I'm gonna give it away. I landed at 4.
All right. Oh, I didn't do fancy little stars. I should have taken it from. Oh, here, I'll just repost it. Oh wait, but how do I do a half? I have a half.
Oh wait, let's see. I wonder if I can find it over on my other screen here.
Well, I'm just gonna show the number. I gave it a 3.5. I was on the fence between 3.5 and 4. I feel like if it was out of 10, it would be a 7.5. So maybe it's a 3.75. Whatever. I went with 3.5. Maybe I'll come back to this once I've rated more albums, and maybe relative to those, I'll change it. But right now, 3.5.
I mean, I think that's like totally fair, and I mean, I'm at a 4. I've had a lot of time to sit on it. I've had times where I probably would have been like, maybe it's like leaning 3.5. Probably at the times I've been most into it, I've been like, maybe it's leaning like 4.25, in that direction. So I think I've kind of averaged out. Feel pretty solid at 4. So, but 3.5. We're pretty close. So.
Yeah. No, it's a great album.
See how it grows on you. over time too. So
Yeah, I'll definitely be
stays in
listening to it
rotation.
more. I'm glad that I gave it the time of day because that first like pass, it didn't. First of all, I just didn't give it the attention it needed, and like Pale Iris didn't really grab me, which was like the first single, and yeah. But I'm glad I gave it the time of day.
Dang, I'm gonna have to figure this out. I'll leave your 3.5, and I thought I found a half-star character, but I did not. Right. I'll finish the stars later.
Making it difficult for you.
It's fun for Erra too, for me, because I feel like getting that like third album that's truly an album I really like. I feel like a lot of bands get one that I like. That's why I listen to them ever. And then it's not rare for a band to have like a second that is like really strong. But I don't think there's a lot of bands that put out 3 albums that like, especially in a row, that I think hit quite as high of an average of like Neon into Erra into Cure for me. So
yeah, it's been a good run.
Standard, yeah. I hope they keep it up.
Absolutely, looking forward to what they do next.
Well, do we want to try to? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I expect it to, based on their track record of the last 3, I expect it to be a new interesting experiment. So
right, yeah, they've definitely been pretty. I definitely want to go back and listen to like some of the older stuff, because now that I've been into this stuff, like I feel like it warrants it. I've dipped into Drift a little, and I feel like Drift definitely feels like the precursor to Neon. Like I think Drift into Neon is going to be like. There's a couple songs I do already really like on Drift, but it feels like a more like samey kind of thing. Like Neon feels like a very like, oh yeah, this is the next album that this band would make. Whereas if you were like super into Neon, and then the self-titled came out. Like I got introduced to them to self-titled. That seems like that would have been a pretty like, whoa, where did this come from? Like Snowblood being the lead single after Neon.
Yeah, no, I mean that was my reaction.
Yeah, Eye of God.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is like barely the same band.
Did you ever listen to Eye of God much?
Yeah, that was the
like single that was not on either album.
Yeah, I listened to it a handful of times.
Okay, yeah, it was like between Neon and Erra. It does bridge the gap a bit for sure, but yeah, I still think that self-titled is a pretty big step in another direction. Cure's like still different from self-titled, but I feel like Cure makes a lot of sense in the context of like Neon and the self-titled. Like you're seeing a bit of a trajectory, and it's like, yeah, it makes sense they'd be doing something a little different, but like still sounds like them. So, well, should we try and pick what's next?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we just did Cure. I'll have to make like
I'm excited.
page that tracks our ratings just to be able to look back on. For now, I'll just delete this out of here. And let's add 4-8 by Paul. So you get to replace in our the queue here, since we have like albums that we requested that are weighted 3, 2, 1. We each have, and then I'm putting them in this wheel with the weight, so just for the viewers to sort of understand what they're looking at. Not that it's that important, but you'll get to replace my like weight of 2 that was Cure with one of the other ones you want. So, and then we'll re-roll this wheel here. I don't know if it'll be able to see it on the camera. I'll take a peek here.
You're saying I get to basically bump one up?
Yeah, so I tried to explain that in text, like just so we don't have it happen where like, oh, if I replaced one like here, I just don't want it to be like, oh, we happened to roll 5 times in a row and they've all been my albums. When you're sitting here still waiting for any years to decide.
I gotcha.
So like basically whatever got picked last time, the other person gets to replace it, basically.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. With a completely new one or doubling up on one? Okay, I see.
I guess you could double up if you wanted to. I would mean, there's no, we haven't made a rule, but I was imagining you would just pick another one that you want.
I'll just pick another one.
Although
all right, how about
you a bit on the spot? So.
No, it's all right. How about this? Let's do. Callous Boys still got a month. I am eagerly awaiting. Let's. How about I bump Antimai by the Deer Hunter to a 2?
Okay.
And then let's move up the Tiny Moving Parts album to the 1.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Yeah. Okay. Tiny Moving Parts. Deep in the Blue.
Yeah, that one is really kind of a wild card for me because I have not listened to it a single time.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I feel like it'll be fun to have some that like neither of us have listened to.
Yeah, I just know I really liked their previous stuff, so,
Okay.
or at least one album. So it might be like a, but I don't know. Anyways, I'm still confident in putting it on there.
Let's see. Okay, that word just like I spell it out, and then I'm like, is that how it's spelled? It doesn't look like a word.
It's not a word. It's a made-up word.
And then you change something else. So you put in this "you won't go before you're supposed to." As
I did.
Yeah, so I need to change that, and I will here.
Which that would be interesting.
I'm just calling it "you won't go" because I don't feel like typing out that whole thing.
That's fine.
Go. And then we go to replacing "anti," which was a 1 with "deep in the blue."
I like your comment on the Falling Up album.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about just being like, we have to start with the Falling Up album, and then I was like, kind of want to do it, but also want there to be a consistent way we do it, like do the album picking. Then we'll get to it eventually. Like it's on the list. So
Yeah.
You never really listened to Hours, did you?
No.
Okay, let me see. So I have Hours at 3, Anti at 2. When we were.
I think you maybe showed me a couple like songs off it, but I definitely didn't listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
I think this is.
Oh, and I see you asked me if I've listened to Air for Free. Answer's yes.
Okay. How much have you listened to?
Not nearly like Forget Not Slow Down or anything. I probably listened to it less than 10 times.
All right. Is it gonna focus? All right, here we go. Let's try and spin the wheel.
All right, let's see what we got. Oh, it's on your phone.
All right, you won't
Ooh,
go
all right.
before you're supposed to. Knocked Loose.
Awesome. I'm excited. This will be interesting. This will be.
I've never listened to Knocked Loose. I don't know what.
Yeah, I had not before this album. And
okay, is it new?
Well, I don't want to say too. It's relatively new.
Okay.
It came out last year, I believe. Last
right.
year, or was it early this year? I don't remember. I think it was last year.
I'll highlight this here.
It came out last year. Yeah.
Okay.
May of last year. Yeah. Well, I don't want to give too much away, but other than it's gonna be maybe slightly out of your comfort zone, but I think it'll be good.
That's part of the point. All right. Yeah. Well, look forward to it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we'll figure out when we're going to do that. I'm going to give at least a couple weeks. Also, my month here is pretty busy, so it wouldn't surprise me if we end up going like close to a month before our next one. But we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
And when we can reconvene, this was a lot of fun. So I'm already super excited to do it again with something. This time, like we got to start in my comfort zone. Now we'll be going out of my comfort zone a little bit. So.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, listening. Hope you enjoyed. Give Cure a listen. We obviously both really enjoyed it. So if you're into any kind of metalcore, highly recommend. And see you next time.